Here's the brand new TTArtisan 100mm f2.8 lens. It looks beautiful, it's very well made, and it's affordable. But you know me, I'm more about cool, nerdy things in photography, and this lens is no exception. So what I'm excited about isn't so much what's up here, but it's actually what's back here. This is a screw mount lens, and specifically an M42 mount lens. Now, for those who don't know, the M42 mount was used first almost 100 years ago and became this massive success. Because it was universal, there was nothing proprietary about this screw mount. So a camera company could go out and make a new camera or their own lenses for the screw mount, and there's nothing stopping them. So many did. And these weren't small companies either. Pentax was one of them that really brought the M42 mount into popularity. As you can see here on my Pentax Spotmatic. And seeing this modern TTArtisan lens on this SLR is really weird, and I love it. By the 1980s, cameras stopped coming with the M42 mount in favor of newer bayonet mounts. But all those M42 lenses didn't go to waste thanks to little adapters like this, which allowed you to attach them to your bayonet mount cameras. Fast forward now to the mirrorless era, and the same thing applies, only the adapters are larger to make up that flange distance. So that takes us back to this lens. Because it's M42 mount, that means I can mount it to any of my DSLRs, which of course is exactly what I did. By the way, Pergear is the retailer that sent me this lens to review, and as always, these thoughts are my own. There are affiliate links in the description if you are interested in those. At first, this idea to make an M42 lens nowadays seemed crazy to me, but I mean, as you can see, I love it. But why now? Why make an M42 lens? But chatting about it with some of you all, I quickly learned that there are actually a couple of M42 lenses currently being made right now, which I had no idea about. So if you go to a website like B&H Photo and you click on their new lenses, there's a little section, a little filter you can filter by for the universal mount M42. The other lenses are much more expensive, you'll notice, and also from big names like Zeiss and Meyer Optic. The latter of which is a remake of a classic lens that this lens is actually based on, which the original design concept for that lens dates all the way back to the 1930s. And I must have been living under a rock or something, because that Meyer Optics lens, the classic, the vintage ones, exploded in popularity over the last few years among the cool kids. And Meyer Optic actually capitalized on this and released a second version, a new modern version of that lens. So TTArtisan coming in and promising something very similar at a much more affordable price makes a lot of sense. And that's just a really interesting idea to me. Are we going to see more modern lenses that are just remakes of classic vintage lenses? Vintage lenses that are awesome as is, but are getting really expensive as they get more rare, and you could buy a modern clone of one potentially for a lot less. Just an interesting thought. If this lens does well, they might do it. But what's the obsession about? Well, both this lens and the Meyer Optic lens, beyond just having the universal M42 mount, which is kind of helpful and cool, also are known for producing soapy bokeh balls, which now that I say it out loud doesn't sound quite right. But these are just the blobs of out of focus light, and this lens makes them large, bright, and soapy, dreamy looking. This is not the exact same design as the Meyer Optic lens, but it's really close. But look at this, they are both 3 elements and 3 groups, but they differ in the amount of aperture blades and things like their minimum focusing distance. But for all intents and purposes, you're getting a very similar lens producing a very similar effect of those soapy bokeh balls. Dang it, I can't even say it seriously anymore. Wide open at f2.8, the lens is soft, it's not sharp, but it's dreamy, and depending on the look you're going for, this is totally usable. Stopping down to only f4 and it's much sharper. The build quality is excellent, and the clicked aperture ring and vintage ribbed focusing ring is very nice. I mean, look at it. Here's my old Takumar lens, and here's this TTArtisan lens. You can see how the designs are pretty similar. Very cool. The minimum focusing distance is not that close, and that's a bit of a downer to me. I'd really like to get closer to my subject to just blow out the background. But I guess not everything can be perfect. Hey, go out there and take some great photos. And I have this video here that you might be interested in that you can check out. I'll see you over there. And until next time, as always, happy snapping.